నమస్కారం. డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ సార్వత్రిక విశ్వవిద్యాలయం విద్యార్థులకు స్వాగతం. ఈ ప్రసారంలో
Hello learners, today's our topic is language as a mode of communication. All of you know that communication is transference of message from one person to other person, one community to another community. But in this mode of transference, the communication transference, language plays indeed a pivotal role, and the communication is possible not only verbally but it is possible by non-verbal communication also. And moreover, if you see, communication is an integral part of our existence. We cannot understand or we cannot see our existence becoming possible without the mode of communication. And communication, when it comes to human beings, in human society, communication becomes possible with social context, language and purpose. Social context in the sense that in our human society thrives on social rules and social identities and social roles. So in our human communication, our language use and communication aspects entirely depend upon all these factors called social context, purpose, social roles, social identities, and moreover language rules. And when we come to differentiate the language of animals and the language of human beings, in our existence or in our normal behavior, animals behave with group mentality, not with the mentality of community. Whereas human being, even though they thrive in society, even though thrive in groups, there is a sense of community, there is a sense of belongingness we can see materializing in human group, and bonding and sense of belonging may be called culture. So in human society, culture plays an important role in the framing communication or person to person communication or community to community communication. And you know, in animals particularly, we can see in the basic aspects of communication, verbal communication and non-verbal communication, and communication is an integral part of our existence. And language and social context, purpose of communication, we have to communicate our feelings, our emotions, our desires and our belief systems so that we can exist successfully in our community. And moreover, if you see communication in the slide, it is shown that the difference between animals and human beings exist in group, in community, with the sense of bond, with the sense of human bondage and human bonding. And this is first of all enumerated by the linguistic anthropologist, the famous Delheims, and he termed a wonderful phrase called ethnography of speaking. And if you see animals lack individual consciousness, and it is not the property of animals to have individual sense of belonging or individual sense of identity or individual sense of feelings. And at the same time, it is the property of the human beings, it is a vital property of the human beings to have a sense of self. And in Sanskrit we used to say aham. So that sense of self is the reason to acquire language as a mode of communication according to study of linguistics. So that sense of self drives us to see, to venture, to sophisticate our system of communication. And moreover, one important aspect of communication is, particularly in adults, we can communicate in 3 times. Whenever we speak something, whenever we communicate something, that aspect of communication, that bit of speech is entwined with the 3 times. For example, it may be according to past tense, it may be according to present tense, or it may be according to future tense. So human beings are capable enough to communicate in past tense, present tense and future tense. Grammatically, in English grammar particularly, we have 12 tenses in active voice and in passive voice 8 tenses, and that is the grammatical aspect. And if we generally speak, particularly to differentiate between animal community and human community, animals cannot communicate according to the time. Their communication is very much limited to fulfill basic instincts of food, hunger, sex and existence. But human beings, we have been evolving continuously from the basal instincts or bodily needs to something more philosophical, something more spiritual, something more what is in the ladder of evolutionary process. We reach some sort of pinnacle. So for reaching that sort of pinnacle, we mastered the art of communication, where we are much able to speak in past, present and future. And moreover, if you see on the slide, option D, so LAD, so hypothetically speaking, and Noam Chomsky in 1960s, during 1960s, he propounded a hypothetical theory that LAD, it does mean language acquisition device. So human beings are bestowed by nature with the device in brain called, which acquires language simultaneously as human being grows in the experience of his existence and his interaction with his family, with society and with the entire world. For example, if you drop a cat in Japan from India, even though that cat lives in Tokyo for 10 years, it cannot learn Japanese language and it mews at last. Whereas if you drop a human child, if you drop a human being there for 10 years to thrive in Tokyo, after 10 years you can see that human being speaking Japanese language even though it is not his mother tongue. So that is possible according to Noam Chomsky. That is possible with the help of language acquisition device, which is a unique feature of human development or human biology or psychic makeup. Next thing is, if we discuss behavioral patterns, animals are with limited behavior. If you see a dog in Hyderabad and if you observe its behavior in Hyderabad, that behavior, same behavior you can come across in New York or in London or in South Africa, anywhere. But in human beings, our behavioral patterns, our belief systems, our culture, our tradition, our language, our existential patterns change according to the geography, change according to the time, change according to our purpose of living, purpose of mode of existence. So language also, we human beings adapted and enriching in the same manner so that it can meet our needs successfully and fruitfully too. And next important factor in our discussion is origin of language. It is very much interesting to discuss all these wonderful topics, when it comes to origin of language. And the first theory is BRAOU theory. BRAOU theory, it states the importance of imitation of natural sounds. So according to linguists, our language system, particularly our phonetics or our phonology, developed from our imitation of nature and natural sounds. Human being, we grow in the lap of Mother Nature. So nature, according to the BRAOU theory, nature is the first nature is the foster mother, not only as William Wordsworth's nature as a teacher, but nature as a teacher, at the same time nature is a mother who teaches us many sounds, because language is a system of ordering sounds so that our needs can be fulfilled successfully. So BRAOU theory depends upon the imitation of natural sounds, and examples are given like, bang, boom, rattle, buzz, hiss. So these sounds figuratively can be called onomatopoeic. For example, one of the important figures of speech in English language we can see. So BRAOU theory means entirely depends upon the imitation of natural sounds. And let us go to second theory. And second one is ye, he, ho theory. Okay, BRAOU theory first one, and second one is ye, he, ho theory. Very interesting, no? Yes. So in ye, he, ho theory, physical efforts while working in community are the reason to to develop communication. And human beings cannot work for a longer or elongated period or prolongated periods in isolated state. Human beings need community. We are, after all, social animals, and society thrives on community. So we have sense of community, and our feelings, emotions, our pains and sufferings can be shared in community. So ye, he, ho theory, it describes that language developed with the help of our physical efforts when we are involved in physical work with our community. For example, grunts, groans and curses. So these are the things which we express our pain, express our anger, express our gratitude, and all those things comes under this ye, ho theory. And next one, the third theory. Once again interesting one, Dingdong Theory. Dingdong Theory, very quite interesting aspect of this theory, student, is for example, human heart, we can experience heartbeat. And if you see the seasons, if you see the days, if you see the musical elements which are present in nature, so everything is according to a rhythmic pattern. Nothing is outside the rhythmic pattern. Music, really melodious music is present in our body, in our heart, and in our nature, and outside of our own nature. Dingdong theory, it exploits the rhythmic element which is present in nature. So it was a theory which was observed by Plato, Pythagoras, and in modern times Max Muller also, because they believe that behind human development, behind language development, maybe because human beings are the lovers of imitation of melody which is present in nature. So that tendency, that likeness towards the melody which is present in nature might have led human beings to acquire language. So that is Dingdong theory. And the next one is the gesture theory. And nowadays soft skills have the learning soft skills has become an important aspect of our preparation for employability skills. We teach our students our soft skills, how to use hands, how to use body movements, how to possess positive posture. So this gesture theory depends upon the body language. We cannot communicate any information or message without using bodily movements, without using eye movements, without the help of facial expressions. So without well before the message is being conveyed, the listener, the receiver can understand in which tone our speech is going to be delivered. That is entirely explained by our facial expressions. So body language, hands movement, eye movements and facial expressions are also part of our communication. And in the beginning of my lecture, I told you that there are two types of communication. One is verbal communication and another one is non-verbal communication. Verbal communication is possible by language, and non-verbal communication is possible without language, that is our bodily postures, head movements, hand movements, and what I can say, eyes. If you don't involve all these aspects in your day-to-day speech, in your public speaking, or in your presentations, I think your presentation is going to be a dull one. And if you use your body language in a positive manner, because communication becomes possible more or less with the help of body language also. So your presentation will become a fruitful one. Next one is BRAOU theory. BRAOU theory, interjection, what do you say, the words which are called interjections accompany exclamatory marks. For example, in figures of speech, there are 8 figures of speech in English grammar, starting from noun and ending with interjection. And interjections are the expressions of happiness, sorrow, or amazement. And these, we can say, happiness and sorrow, we have certain words to explain. For example, ouch, pain. Oh, surprise. Alas, something bad happened. So, when it comes to interjections, animals cannot use interjections, but various human beings can use interjections in a purposeful manner. Because a lot of pain, a lot of happiness, a lot of surprise can be explained with a single word called interjection. And when it comes to language learning, there are some sort of, in linguistic circles, there are 2 aspects making rounds, that is competence and performance. And competence and performance, my dear learners, are related to language proficiency. And competence is something which deals with knowing language, whereas performance may involve knowing, but more than knowing, how you are using successfully the target language for your day-to-day purpose. So knowing language is different from using language. So competence is different from performance. For example, many students complain, sir, we are learning grammar, ES and ES together, but we cannot spontaneously construct sentences. That is the problem which is there between competence and performance. And we need exposure. Child imitates the language, and in his family, with the help of mother, father, he uses language. So as he grows in age, he grows in performance and in competence. Both go hand in hand. Then only we can learn language successfully. And language learning, it is about grammatical rules, language drills. You may remember what I say, grammar translation method. Yeah. And another one is what I say, military method. In that method, language during the Second World War, language is learned within a stipulated period of month, and target language is supposed to be learned within a week, within a fortnight. So for that purpose, they used to make language drills. So that purpose, may be fulfilled within a stipulated period of time. That is language learning. It is pretty artificial. And language acquisition, it is natural. It comes from mother, it comes from father, it comes from our family. Okay, so we learn language by using language for practical purposes. And if you want to, master English language or any other language besides your mother tongue, you have to use it for your practical purposes. So when you use it practical purposes, you can master the language within a stipulated point of time, stipulated period of time, wherever you want to get it done. And question, I want to explain some important aspects of what are the hurdles we are going to face in learning language. So Stephen Krashen, he explained wonderfully with his monitor hypothesis, that is acquisition system and output. When we learn language rather artificially, unknowingly we employ a mechanism called monitor. So monitor mechanism always highlights our mistakes, grammatical mistakes, or syntactical mistakes, semantical mistakes. So those mistakes becomes an hindrance in our acquisition of language. So acquisition always in acquiring second language, it flows under the guise of monitor, and output leads after clearing out that monitor system. And the input hypothesis clearly says that language acquisition depends upon the level of input. If you are well exposed to the target language, your output will be also a successful one in day-to-day life. And the next one is active filter hypothesis. So there is a filter mechanism. Filter mechanism means whether we are committing mistakes or not, whether we are doing on a right level or not. Always we are under scrutinization, we are under scrutiny. So input, scrutiny, and acquisition. So that mechanism of scrutiny we have to erase, and mistakes are natural in learning second language. And basically all languages, if for example the level of understanding a language, the level of using a language depends upon 4 skills, that is L, S, R, W: listening, speaking, reading, writing. You have to understand one important thing here. Learning starts from listening, not from writing or not from reading. So listen, speak, then read, and then write, and you will definitely learn, you will definitely acquire whatever language you want to acquire. Thank you. Best of luck. Thank you very much.
మా కార్యక్రమాలపై మీ సూచనలు, సలహాలు, అభిప్రాయాలు మాకు తెలియజేయండి. మీ సూచనలు, సలహాలు, అభిప్రాయాలు మాకు తెలియజేయవలసిన చిరునామా: డైరెక్టర్, ఆడియో విజువల్ ప్రొడక్షన్ అండ్ రీసెర్చ్ సెంటర్, డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ ఓపెన్ యూనివర్సిటీ, ప్రొఫెసర్ జి రామరెడ్డి మార్గ్, రోడ్ నంబర్ 46, జూబ్లీ హిల్స్, హైదరాబాద్ 500033.